Before we start today's episode, I just want to give a quick disclaimer that everything in today's episode is going to be completely scripted. So let's get to it. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 1 of the Sonder podcast. You may or may not know that this podcast was originally a radio show on Whitney Radio. My show ran for an hour from 7 till 8 p.m. on Wednesday evenings. I hosted the show for over a year and had a really great time doing it. I also heard that many others also enjoyed my show, which was very good to hear. Sadly, I was recently told that I could no longer run my show on Whitney Radio. I was sent an email after my last show letting me know that it was to be my last ever due to changes at the radio station, among other things. I was planning to leave the station in about a month anyway, but it did mean that I never got the chance to finish or say goodbye or explain my leaving. I also never got the chance to do a final special show. However, in the name of resilience and persistence, I will continue to host my show here as a podcast. I hope to eventually branch out to other platforms, but for now it will only be here on YouTube. So today's podcast will be an introductory podcast as well as some closure for the radio show. I think it would be best to start by explaining what my show was and what I plan to do with the podcast. My show was about self-improvement. Each week I talked about a different topic of self-improvement. I'd start the show with a fact about the topic before moving on to an explanation of the topic, why it's important, and finally how to do or use the topic effectively. I would also play music during the show. Since this is now going to be a podcast, I will not be playing music anymore. Without music, the podcast will last about half an hour for each episode unless I decide to adjust the structure, which could change how long it is. I want to keep this podcast as close to my show as possible. However, before I start including new topics, I will be going over some of the old topics I've covered in previous shows. It's been a long time since I covered them, so if you did listen, it's probably time for a refresher. And if you didn't, then you'll get the chance to find out what you missed. It will also give me the chance to improve my first shows, which I did before I had a set structure or really knew what I was doing. I also plan to continue uploading to my other social medias, which I will link in the description. These include my blog, which I try to upload to twice a week on similar topics as this show, as well as some additional content as in practical self-improvement guides. I also have a Twitter account where I post links to all my blog posts and a few random things. I don't post to it much, but it's a good place to contact me if you would like to. Finally, I have an Instagram account where I provide updates on things that happen, as well as information on how my latest project is going, which at the moment is a sci-fi novel that I've been working on since November last year. I plan to stick to my usual timing, so I will be uploading the podcast on Wednesday evenings. However, due to recent technical difficulties, I can't yet guarantee the time exactly. So I hope that you will subscribe to the podcast and come back next week to continue following my show into the next chapter. Or if you missed the first chapter, then I hope you'll join me for this one. I have a very good feeling about it.